I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Miss Serial Killer. When a doctor gets jailed for a string of murders, his loyal wife sets out to commit a copycat crime to prove his innocence. It came out last year. It's an hour 47 minutes long. It's one of those Indian Hindu crime thriller movies. Spoiler alert, let's get it. So we got this gynecologist here who goes by the name of Joy, who's on a FaceTime call with his wife Sonia. They talk about how much they miss each other, they so far away. Then she's talking about she's not there alone. He's like, really, what the fuck? You cheating on me? But now she's just playing around, she's just talking about the baby she about to have. So apparently he didn't know he was having a baby, and obviously he couldn't take a joke, so he walks off screen. Then he's like, psych, I knew, I was just fucking with you, that's why I set up this party. He's like, yeah, you ain't the only one that could be dramatic. After she gets off her FaceTime call, somebody comes to her door. This cop right here, we just gonna call him Chris. So Sonia's like, get out of here. Don't you have people to harass during the day or whatever? She's like, I'm gonna call the real cops if you don't leave. He's like, alright, well, if you don't let me in, I can show him your husband this picture of us. So reluctantly, she lets him in. So he's on a case about some missing girls, and he thinks her husband has something to do with it, so that's why he keeps harassing. That and the fact that Chris and Sonia have a past history that we don't know about just yet. So he gets himself a drink. She tries to force him out, but knocks over some pictures in a couple baggies. One baggie has a hairbrush in it, the other one has cigarette butts in it. Now, why are there cigarette butts in a hairbrush and a baggie? Seems suspicious to me. So Chris picks that shit up for evidence and rides on out. And it cuts from that scene to all these officials and police going to this building or what they call a farmhouse. And he's calling out there looking for the sergeant. And he was in this underground bunker. My question is, how the fuck did he get down there? Well, anyway, they go down there, and it's a dead body with the head chopped off, all mangled and shit, and you got all these knives hanging on top of it. And in jars, you got like 6 fetuses on the other side of the table. What in all of the fuck happened here? So the case that were given a while ago, they were supposed to be looking for 6 pregnant dead girls' bodies here. They found one, but after digging, they found the other 5. This shit is wild, man. As soon as he came back from his business trip, they were there to arrest him on sight. Sonya don't know what the fuck is going on, but she did get the call. She goes to talk to him while he's behind bars, and she's gonna do everything in her power to prove that he's innocent. So Joy gives Sonya the name of his lawyer, a dude by the name of Leon. She gets the information from one of his files. She tried to get in, but the guard won't let her through. But then his wife comes back and offers her some assistance. I guess she was running errands or something. And there he is, Leon. He hasn't been taking any calls because he's been sick. That's why it was so hard for her to reach him. He says he can't be there in person, but just FaceTime him and he could be a witness at the trial. And now the trial. At this point, all they're trying to do is at least get him out on bail. And sure enough, the FaceTime got through so Leon could be part of the trial. Unfortunately, the cigarette butts and the hair comb was enough to deny Joy's bail. As the cops were taking Joy to his cell, even the locals was trying to whip Joy's ass. It was like, god damn. Sonya is devastated at all this shit going down. So she heads on back over to Leon's house. Leon says, not really much you could do right now at this point unless what? You gotta be willing to go all the way if I tell you this. She says she'll do anything for her husband. He says, now this is going against all lawyer ethics, but you gotta pretend to be the copycat killer. That way they'll think that they arrested the wrong person. She's like, yeah, let me think it over. She's obviously struggling with this decision because, with the charges Joy has on him, he's either gonna get life in prison or get the death sentence. But then she gets a call from the police. It was like Joy almost got beat to death his first day locked up. Then we cut to a flashback about them driving on the road. They start having a conversation about tattoos. Back in real time, she's really driving and almost hits that cop Chris while he's walking around drunk. She gets on the phone with Leon and says, can a copycat killer actually kill a cop? And Leon's like, nah, you gotta do the same type of crime your husband's guilty for. Like trying to kill a pregnant woman. So now she's like, fuck it, I'll do it. Then we get a flashback to when Sonya and Chris was dating. Turns out they actually dated for years before she met Joy. She wanted to get married to Chris back then, but their families didn't want them together. Since she was a surgeon, they wanted to be with another surgeon and not a cop. So on this particular day, they go to a mass marriage ceremony booth, and they legit got married. So wait a minute, is she married to both of them at the same time, or did she break up with Chris and got with Joy, or like, what the fuck's the deal? I guess she is married to both of them since she was so scared of Chris showing Joy the picture. The marriage picture, that is. So anyway, she makes a call to the doctors to set up an appointment. And while the lady's getting the doctor, she goes through a list of females who are pregnant and puts their numbers in her phone. But after she does that, she actually sees the doctor and finds out she really is pregnant. So knowing that as a fact and knowing what she's about to do to try to get her husband out of jail, leaves her all types of conflicted. So she calls all these people trying to figure out which one of these pregnant people are single. Trust me, she has a way of doing it. She ends up calling one who's ironically one of her next door neighbors. She goes to a house basically tailing her, following her, whatever like that. And she's riding on the back of the bicycle with her boyfriend. She's watching from a distance, tells her boyfriend she's pregnant, and he's like, what the fuck you just tell me now? Trust me, he didn't take the news very well. So as she's walking, Sonya starts following her again. And then she just stands in the middle of the road. And she's looking like, what the fuck is she doing? This big ass truck is coming that can't stop. She's like, oh shit, this girl's trying to kill herself. So she drives up, pushes her out the way, and the truck goes right past. Now, what are the odds of the person you're about to kill, you actually end up having to save their life? Is it ironic or too much of a fucking coincidence? Well, anyway, she drops her off at this Shaolin martial arts temple. She's sneaking around trees like, what the fuck is she doing up here? So apparently she's a black belt and she teaches. Yeah, Sonya, you sure do know how to pick them, huh? So after that, she goes to a hospital and picks up some chloroform. Alright, now this part right here clearly lets me know she is not built for this profession. So when she gets back home, she puts some chlorophyll on a piece of bread. Goes outside to try to feed it to the dog. Okay, number one, it's a dog. It's not a human. You know you're going to need a bigger dose for a human other than a dog. So how are you testing that? Number two, hopefully it doesn't kill the damn dog. Number two, she is a maid. Why is this important? Because this maid ends up spilling most of the chlorophyll all over the table. But instead of just telling Sonya what happened, she tries to refill it and replace it up with water. So if Sonya didn't know the dosage and was trying to give it to a damn dog, she's definitely not going to know it now because it's half chlorophyll and half water. She on some bullshit. But really, it's her fault for not putting the top on it to begin with. Yeah, anybody can have an accident with that, but the point is, if you stole it from the hospital, you'd think you'd be more careful with it, put a fucking top on it. So it's nighttime, Sonya riding around, following Karate Girl. Then she parks and starts searching for her on foot. Then she grabs her up and is like, hey, it's a black SUV following us, you gotta be careful. She's like, alright, word, I got you, son. Not realizing that was her, and she also thinks she's a man because she got a hat on. So then she catches her off guard with the chlorophyll. You think it really worked on her that fast? And she goes back and pulls up with the car. No, it didn't work because she was playing dumb dead, you big dummy. And kicks her ass through a damn table. Uh-oh, shorty ready to give those hands. And the chase is on, and I'm thinking to myself, both of them are pregnant. I hope nobody kicks anybody in the stomach. Well, anyway, somehow they end up in this flower patch. And I'm thinking she knows something about the petals the way she's mixing up shit. She throws the dust in her face and I'm like, okay, is something happening? Nope, because she's still about to kick her ass. Well, I take it back, it does bother because Sonya somehow ends up getting the upper hand. Meanwhile, people at the police station wonder if Chris is going to stick around. Because he was only really there to help with the missing girl case. But then they get a phone call about another girl missing. Who's pregnant, by the way? Who called the police station? The parents of the karate chick. Meanwhile, Sonya's putting in voiceovers over her phone. Why? You'll see in a minute. Meanwhile, Chris goes to investigate the disappearance of the karate chick. The parents said they were calling to try to figure out what time she wanted to eat dinner, but she never responded back. Meanwhile, back in one of Sonya's hospital facilities, yes, I want you to hear this clearly, one of her hospital facilities, she's got karate chick tied up. Now, the hospital might be abandoned or not, but it's still one of your fucking facilities. So the reason she did the voiceovers of the phone so she don't have to speak, because Karate Chick thinks she's a man. So the problem is she got too close and she can actually smell her perfume. You thinking to yourself like, why did you put on perfume? I'm sorry, Sonya, you're just not built for this profession. Well, anyway, Sonya tries to feed her, she bites her, and she screams out. Karate Chick's like, yeah, you scream like a woman. Well, now she knows you screams like a woman and you're wearing perfume. It's a good thing she's blindfolded, right? Back at the station, Chris is questioning the boyfriend about the whereabouts of Karate Chick. He's like, man, I just hope you find the bastard that's got her. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, she's about to take her to a different room. And she's about to give her a needle that'll make her have an abortion. I'm like, oh shit. But then she thinks about it and she wants to make sure she's doing it right. So she goes in another room to talk to Leon to confirm what she's doing. While all that's going on, Karate Chick is reaching for the table for the scalpel. But by the time she gets back in the room, she escaped. Oh no, she did. She in the corner. What the fuck are you, a Spider-Man? And then drop kicks her ass through the glass. And yes, they gave it a slow motion effect. And she's like, wait a minute, what the fuck are you doing here? So she makes up a lie real quick. Is like, yeah, I tried to stop the killer. I came here and seen you coming in here trying to save your life. But then she puts two and two together about the perfume because she smells the same damn perfume she was smelling when she was blindfolded. She's like, wait a minute. Then she picked up the phone and she dropped with all the voiceovers on it. Yeah, Sonya, she knows it's you. Yo, she tried to escape it. This motherfucker runs off that damn wall with the whiffling. Now, as they're running, this part's fucking hilarious. Look at this. Slid right into it. When she almost caught her, she stabbed her with an anesthesia needle, and yeah, she's about to go out for the count again. Then we get this scene where she's talking to herself, spazzing out. And yep, she's got her tied up once again. She's like, you know what? I had enough of your mouth. I'm about to torture the fuck out you. But I don't think she built for that shit. Anyway, the people are feeling like Joy should be free because there's another somebody on the loose still kidnapping women. He's basically getting the third degree from all angles. Then he supposedly gets a phone call from the serial killer and tells her where the body is. So they end up going to the spot. Apparently the spot is right back at the fucking farmhouse. He goes down to the bunker and what does he find? Holy shit, is that Karate Chick's body? What the fuck? And a fetus sitting there. God damn. The parents came down devastated. The boyfriend's like, what the fuck? And so because they believe the killer's still on the loose, the trial is on again. This time Leon's actually there in person. Blah, blah, blah. Something about the evidence being false. And he's out on bail. Afterwards, she takes him to the hospital and shows him that Karate Chick is still alive. So they took a body from the morgue, put her clothes on it, did some audiograph designs and stuff like that to make it look like it was her body, and yeah. The problem is she's feeling pretty fucked. It's like, well, we can't let her go now. Like, what are we gonna do? Doc's like, don't worry about it. We'll think of something. Meanwhile, Chris is sitting at the bar. And he's like, look, man, we ain't serving you no more. We have respect. But then you locked up the doctor thinking he was guilty and he wasn't. He's like, look, I get what you're saying, but please don't start with this bullshit right now. Then somebody pushes him and they start the beef. Damn, you could just go hard on cops out there, huh? Meanwhile, they back at the house for a second talking about naming kids. Chris over here getting stalked out. Then the boyfriend ends up finding the hospital somehow. She's like, oh shit, how'd you find me? Turns out he was tailing Sonya the whole time. He must have thought in his head that he knew she wasn't dead. He's trying to tell her, but then he hears somebody coming. She tells him to hide in the cupboard when it comes out. But this dumbass ends up locking himself in. Meanwhile, this motherfucker Chris still beefing. It's like 20 on 1. This nigga's still fighting back. Gotta give him his props for that. Meanwhile, Sonya wakes up out of a bad dream, but Joy's not sitting next to him. What's the fuck's going on? So she goes looking for him and sees the black SUV at the hospital. She goes inside, and he's already in there fucking with Karate Chick. Come to find out, Joy really is the killer, and Sonya didn't even know about it. He said the reason that he killed these women because they was having birth out of wedlock, just like his mom. I was like, what the fuck? And he said they didn't deserve babies. That's why he always removed the fetuses out of them. I'm like, holy shit. And she said she can understand bad things happen to you before meeting up, you know what I'm saying? But it's not up to you to punish people. And then he spits one of the coldest lines as a villain. He said, I'm not punishing anybody, that's up to God. I'm just rearranging their meeting. This nigga's iceberg slim out here in these streets. I swear the dialogue that comes from him within the last 25 minutes of this movie is pure fucking gold. Trust me, it's so damn good, I wanted him to live throughout the end of the movie. Even though in storyline, he deserves to die for all the shit that he just did. Sonya thought she was slick. She was trying to reach for the scalpel first, but Joy got to her and stabbed it through her hand, through the table so she could stay at the table. Yeah, her hand's literally stuck in the table at this point. He picks up her phone and gets a phone call as Leon. Turns out he's actually been working for Leon this whole time, and she just now finds out about it. Man, that shit is wild. Now back to work on Karate Chick, but then all of a sudden he hears the boyfriend making noise in the damn closet. He tried to hit him with the pipe when he came out, but he's smacking his goofy ass up. When he sat down, it automatically called Chris's phone, who was completely fucked up at this point. It had a message on there about his whereabouts, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna trace it. So now back to the mayhem. But he needs to go to another room to get a scalpel, because the only scalpel he has is the one that's stuck in Sonya's hand right now. So Chris finally finds a spot. He found her. Yep, they did too. Look how my nigga slides into the frame. Holy shit. Get your bitch ass down there. What the fuck you thought you was doing? So yeah, he gets him tied up, and he starts telling him his story since he's sitting there. So he picks up his wallet, sees this girl in there, and he's like, yeah, I know this girl. So obviously the case of a missing girls will automatically be a police matter. But for Chris, it was personal because one of the missing girls was his sister. So he gives him this story about how much he almost caught Joy 2 years ago. He went to go talk to a doctor about something, and he bashed the fuck out of his head with a steel pipe. Yeah, Joy thought he killed him that day. So because of that, he was in a coma for 2 years after that. So after he woke up, he gathered evidence to find out that he was actually back in his hometown. But the problem is he didn't have no evidence against him. But when he transferred, this was his first time finding out that the love of his life was married to this guy. And Joy just laughing like, ha. Finally, you got to the comedy piece of the story. He said, but you know what's even more funny about all this? After all this time, you still don't have no evidence against me. He's like, all right, at this point, it's time for me to cut this girl open. But he's got to have like a whole light show. He puts on some theatrical music. I mean, this guy as a villain is pure gold. Like, his performance here reminds me of the Reanimator. If you remember that villain from back in the 80s. No, seriously, he's fucking great. So while all this was going on, somehow he ended up getting his hands from behind the fucking chair and pulls the scalpel out of hand so he can cut himself free. Joy catches him, he goes for the gun. Chris throws the scalpel with the quickness. It goes straight through his hand. They rumble in the jungle. Somehow Joy breaks free, grabs the scalpel. He's about to stab a Karate Chick. But then Sonya jumps in the way. Chris stabs Joy in his back. Oh shit, Joy stabs Sonya in the stomach. He's like, what the fuck? He was actually about to go to stab her again, but then Chris twists the knives in his back and gets it done. Man, that whole shit is wild. Next day, Chris is at the hospital, a real hospital, with Sonya, who we're all actually surprised is still alive. Right next to them is a happy couple who promised to marry each other. Karate Chick lets her know she's not going to press charges on her because she pretty much saved her life, and that's really twice if you think about it. The doctor tells her she's going to be fine, but she definitely lost the baby. And the doctor said he also took care of another patient too. Don't tell me he helped out Joy. He's still alive. They go to check his room, but that nigga's ghost. Now, who's waiting in the parking lot? Leon. Who's he waiting for? Leon's wife and Joy. Yes. He's still alive. I know some movies should just be good for what they are and leave it at that, but fuck that, we need a part 2. Like dead serious. Miss Serial Killer on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Click DZ, mister. Big. You got that slogan.